Spency boy took the lift to Poland. What's up, my dudes? We finally got it, boys. Anaheim 1 2023 RF Pro Track review. Okay, first of all, this is what I'll say about this Anaheim 1. The biggest takeaway I can make of it is it's just underwhelming. Other than the whoop sections, those are pretty badass and a half on this track, but other than that, the rest of the track, the only word I can really use for it is underwhelming. The way I would explain it to you is it's kind of like about maybe 10% better than the Anaheim one from last year, which I thought was one of the worst RF Supercross Pro tracks for its time that I have ever seen in my entire life. It was literally a sand amateur Supercross track. That's what the Anaheim one was in 2022 for MXM. So to say that this track is just about like maybe 10% better than that track, you see how it's not really saying much. I don't really feel like this Anaheim one is any better than the best Supercross tracks that they made from last year. So that kind of gives you an idea right there. I think it's better than the Anaheim 1 that they made last year, but it's not better than the best tracks that they made last year. Do you see what I'm saying? I love how RF is proving my point that I was making for the last, 2 or 3 years about their whoop sections being way too fucking small, way too smoothed off, way too rolled off. You know, they did that for literally the last 3 years. What are you doing, RF? Oh, now you want to make whoops that actually feel like whoops. Now you want to make whoops that actually have a little bit of whoop skill gap. Oh! What was Spency Boy telling you the past 3 years? Oh, now you want to try to do it. Oh, that's cute. Holy shit. So anyways, RF continues to prove my point over and over and over. I swear it's like, just give RF a couple years. Just give them a few more years to make all the changes that I've been telling them to make to their tracks for the past 5 years. You know, eventually they'll do it. Eventually, they'll prove all my points to be right. Oh my gosh, man. RF, you wear me out, bro. I done told you all this. I done told you needed bigger scaling. You needed more skill gap. You needed bigger whoops. You needed less of that friction-y sand feeling. You needed bigger berms. You know, Spency Boy done been saying all this for 5 years now. And it's just hilarious how it takes RF like 2 or 3 Supercross series before they even start to realize, you know what? Yeah, those whoops are a little bit too easy. Oh, yeah. But anyways, I digress, I guess, bro. Whoo! Oh, man. So let's get down to the actual nitty-gritty of this track, okay? That was just sort of the overarching opinion on it there. It's just kind of underwhelming. It basically looks the exact same, graphically, visually, as the Anaheim one from last year. This doesn't really feel like they made a big improvement, visually from last year. It looks the exact same. It just feels like you're on a slightly different kind of track. You know what I mean? So they haven't really changed anything visually. They haven't really improved on anything visually. So in that sense, it doesn't really give you that feeling like when you go from a 2013 track to a 2014 track. It's like a whole entire different visual thing. It just doesn't really capture that sort of vibe. And the problem that I have with this track right here, first of all, is if you boys thought there was any kind of character or pre-made or literally anything other than just the jumps on the track and the berms, you know what I'm saying? If you thought there was going to be any little cool, inside rut or any little character on the jump faces, little kicker vibes or anything like that, you're going to be majorly disappointed on this track. There's absolutely none of it. This is what you would call a perfectly glass smooth, Play-Doh, perfect Play-Doh built kind of track. All the whoops are literally the exact same size, even though they're bigger. Everything on this track is like so homogenized, like every corner almost feels the exact same because there's no character to anything on this track. Literally none. When I say there's no character, there is no character. None. There's no little divots or little roughness spots or there's just nothing. There's nothing. It's perfectly glass smooth. So another big problem that I have with this track is on a 450, there is not a single corner where it is better to take the outside line. Believe it or not, it is faster. It is better when you are on a 450 to take the absolute furthest inside line, slam on your brakes in every corner, square up the bike, even in the 180, big old bowl corners. It's better to sweep that bike, cut that bike down as low as humanly possible in every corner. And to me, that's just shitty track design. That's just bad track balance. You know what I mean? Like you didn't balance the track good enough. You didn't balance the rhythms and the jumps good enough to where there was even a single corner where it was better to take the outside. So it just gets very repetitive and boring when it feels like you're just stopping, slowing up, cutting down the bike as far as humanly possible, and hitting the furthest inside line in literally every single corner. That is boring, RF. That is boring. But I'm telling you, that's how this track is. Combined with the feeling of the dirt is something like you mixed concrete with loam. That's the only way I know how to explain the way that the dirt feels, but you combine that with the fact that you're taking the insides everywhere, it eliminates a certain level of flow that this track could have had. You understand what I'm saying? And the kind of flow that a lot of those 2017 tracks had, this track just doesn't have that. This is way more of that stop and go and cut the bike down in a really loamy kind of feeling dirt. You know what I mean? And then you're just like, it's wide open from the fucking furthest inside line, wide open to the jump face. And that's it. There's none of that where you're really like slingshotting around the outside of the berm to try to hit some bigger rhythm. All the rhythms are built in a way to where it's just faster to hit the smaller rhythm out of the corner. You know what I mean? Like either you're getting on top of a tabletop right out of a corner and it's not faster to jump over the tabletop out of the corner, or it's like a really small 250 specific triple out of a corner, and it's too hard to really hit the quad out of the corner, so you're just going to sweep it as far inside as you can possibly hit in every corner. The finish line jump is short as shit. The two Supercross triples are shorter than they should be, so that's even more so. You never feel like on a 450 like, maybe I'm going to have to hit like the middle line or the outside line just to be able to get over a certain jump or obstacle. There's none of that. It's literally you hit the furthest inside line and you'll jump everything perfectly. That to me is just homogenization. It's repetitiveness. It's boring at the end of the day because you're just doing the same thing in every corner, sweeping the corner down, furthest inside, hugging that furthest inside tough block, every corner. That's why I'm not pro racing right now, because that shit just gets boring to me. I can't sit there and ride on something that just feels like I can't separate myself anywhere. Everything feels the same. You know, the entire skill gap of the whole track all comes from the Erode system, which again, like I say, if you're in there on single player or you just want to go in there and mess around on the new RF track, the Erode system is not really even going to be, a relevant thing to what you're doing. It's only a relevant thing to when you're in there pro racing with 20 people on the gate, or you're in there running like, 20 plus laps on the track. But if you're just getting on there like what the majority of people do on MXM, they just hop in there on single player, wanting to run some laps on the new track, this shit is going to be boring compared to a 2017 track. It just is. It's just, yeah, you're going to run like 10 laps on the track just to kind of learn the rhythms. But once you do that, there's just nothing to it. Like, there's no character. There's no bigger rhythms that are actually worth hitting, really. Once you learn how to go through the whoops, they're not really going to catch you off guard that much. These whoops, like I say, even though they're bigger than any 2017 whoops, they just don't scare me like the 2017 whoops do. They just don't create that same level of fear like the 2017 whoops do. There's just something about these whoops that just don't do that. They look really big, but the reality of it is they're so much softer feeling than a 2017 whoop section that it just doesn't create that same kind of fear and skill gap and replayability. You see what I'm saying? So anyways, at the end of the day, underwhelming, guys. I mean, that's all I can really say. At the end of the day, for me personally, even with the Erode system turned on this track, it's still not as fun as any of those 2017 tracks are to me. You see what I'm saying? It's just not as fun. It's just not as fun. The whoops aren't as fun. Like I say, there's not those 2 or 3 bigger, more monster style 450 only pro lines that you can attempt to try to hit every lap. There are a couple of bigger lines, but like I say, they're so big that it's just unrealistic to even attempt to try to hit it, because they purposely build these somewhat monster lines on a lot of their tracks. They build them just big enough on purpose to where they try to get you to not even hit it. You see what I'm saying? Whereas 2017, it's like they were purposely building the bigger quad rhythms and shit because they wanted you to hit it. It was just like expected for you to hit it if you were a pro on a 450. But now it's just not like that. So, and at the end of the day, that's all it comes down to for me personally. I just have more fun riding on a 2017 track. It's more skill gap. The dirt feels more like actual dirt and not that weird, soft, loamy, kind of feeling. I don't know. There's just something about it. I can put so many laps on those 2017 tracks and not get tired of them, not get bored of them, feel like I can keep going a little bit faster and a little bit faster. This kind of track feels like I ride about 10 laps on it and I'm already maxing out how fast I can go on the track. And then you would have to have the Erode system to create any kind of skill gap, because otherwise you're just going to start laser lining around the track and there's nothing to the track. You see what I'm saying? Because there's no real rhythm skill gap. The main Supercross triples, it don't really matter if you come up short. You're not really going to pop off. The whoops, even though they're bigger and better than a lot of their whoops from last year, at the end of the day, it's still not like 2017 whoops. You see what I'm saying? So this kind of track, to me, it just gets boring. It just feels like I just start to get in that where I'm just going around the track, not even having to really think about what I'm doing, and then I just get bored of it. But it is better than the Anaheim one from last year. That track was literally an amateur sand track. This is more like a pro-am loam track. That's the way I would explain it. Like, if the 2022 Anaheim one on MXM was a amateur sand track, then this right here is a pro-am loam track. Do you see what I'm saying? That's kind of the difference right there. I hope that makes sense to you guys, but I don't know, man. This just ain't doing it for me. It's still not doing it for me. I still feel like there was a couple of their tracks from last year, like that they made like midways through the season, towards the end of the season, that were just better than this track. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel like this track right here is just better than anything that they made last year. I don't really believe that. So at the end of the day, that's where I'm at, man. And I'm not trying to just, you know, some of you guys are going to think, oh, well, Spence just an RF hater. He's just saying this shit just because. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm telling you the truth. The Spencey boy tells you the truth. True. It's the truth, man.